We've gotten some really interesting stuff from listeners lately about fungi and how they impact human health. And so today we're going to do a deep dive into this book,
Okay.
Self-Heal by Design by Barbara Oneils.
Sounds good.
And it's a pretty unique read. It explores this concept of the human body like being designed to self-heal.
Yeah, and a big part of that self-healing process is the role of microorganisms, according to O'Neill at least.
Right.
They're kind of like a hidden workforce.
Uh-huh.
They're constantly at work inside us.
And she even compares our bodies to compost bins,
Yeah.
which is kind of a striking analogy.
It is.
Connecting the carbon cycle we see in nature
Yeah.
to what's happening inside of us.
It's really a brilliant way to illustrate this whole, this interplay between our bodies in this microbial world.
Mm.
O'Neill even points out that we actually have more microorganisms than human cells in our bodies.
Wow.
It's kind of a crazy thought.
Yeah, that's mind-boggling.
Yeah, it really kind of raises the question, are we more plant than animal?
It does.
When you think about it that way.
Right. And I've always thought of microorganisms as something to be avoided,
Yeah,
but O'Neill suggests that they're actually essential for our survival.
right. And she argues that they're not inherently good or bad. It's more about the internal environment, if our bodies are healthy
Yeah.
and balanced. These microorganisms function as helpful decomposers,
Uh-huh.
breaking down waste and supporting these natural processes.
So it's not just about the presence of these microorganisms,
Right.
but the conditions we create inside our bodies
Yeah.
that determine their role.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah.
She uses this really interesting analogy of, or this story rather, about sick Steve and healthy Harry.
Okay.
And they're both exposed to the same cold virus,
Mm-hmm.
but only Steve gets sick.
Right.
And the difference is their internal environment.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe Steve's internal environment because of stress or a poor diet is like a welcoming party for the virus,
Right.
whereas Harry's is like a no vacancy sign,
Yeah.
so the virus can't take hold.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So it shifts the focus from simply like avoiding germs
Right.
to cultivating this healthy internal environment that can resist them.
That's the core of her message, really.
Yeah.
And when it comes to this internal ecosystem, fungi play a particularly interesting role.
Okay, let's talk about the fungi.
Sure.
What makes them so unique in this whole scenario?
Well, they can act as both decomposers,
Uh-huh.
breaking down waste, but they can also act as parasites,
Yeah.
causing disease.
Right.
And historically, a lot of scientists have observed a connection between fungus and various illnesses.
I know that she goes into some historical examples.
Yeah. She mentions Professor Bechamp,
Mhm.
who did this experiment with a dead cat
Oh, gosh.
that was sealed in a container,
Okay.
and it decomposed completely
Wow.
due to microorganisms. So it just highlights the power of these microorganisms to break down matter.
Even in a sealed environment.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's a little bit gruesome.
Yeah.
But I can see how that would vividly demonstrate, the power of microorganisms in the carbon cycle.
Right.
But how does this relate to human health?
Well, O'Neill's theory is that we're constantly encountering fungal spores in our environment,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's through the food we eat or the air we breathe.
Okay.
And these spores can lie dormant in our bodies for years until something triggers their growth.
So they're kind of like little time bombs,
Yeah, you could say that.
just waiting to go off.
Right.
So what kind of things trigger their growth?
Well, sugar is a major culprit.
Okay.
It's like a feast for fungi,
Right.
encouraging their proliferation.
Like giving them fertilizer.
Exactly. And a weakened immune system,
Mm-hmm.
antibiotics,
Yeah.
hormonal imbalances can all create an environment where fungi can thrive.
It makes me rethink that sugar intake for sure.
Yeah, it's something to be mindful of.
But this idea that microorganisms can change their roles depending on the environment
Yeah,
is really fascinating.
it is.
Doesn't that kind of challenge the traditional view of bacteria
Right.
as fixed species?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's actually the concept of pleomorphism,
Okay.
which is the ability of microorganisms to change forms
Yeah.
based on their environment.
That's a pretty radical idea.
It is, and it could change how we think about bacteria and disease.
So if we want to create an environment in our bodies that's less hospitable to harmful fungi,
Yeah.
where do we even begin?
Well, O'Neill suggests starting with diet.
Okay.
And as you might have guessed, sugar is at the top of the list.
I had a feeling you were going to say that.
Yeah, it's a big one.
But are there any other, unexpected dietary culprits that
Yeah.
we should be aware of?
You might be surprised to learn that peanuts,
Okay.
aged cheeses, And even mushrooms are on the list.
Wow.
Yeah, they can all contribute to fungal growth in the body.
So no more late night cheese and mushroom pizzas for me.
Maybe not,
Okay.
at least not too often.
It sounds like we need to pay really close attention to what we eat.
We do.
But how do we know if we already have like an overgrowth of
Oh.
fungi in our bodies?
That's a great question.
Does she address that?
Yeah, she does, and that's where things get even more interesting.
Okay.
And in the next part of our deep dive, we'll explore the signs and symptoms of fungal overgrowth,
All right.
and we'll dive into Oneils' approach to restoring balance and promoting self-healing.
I'm ready for part 2.
Me too.
Let's do it.
All right.
We'll be right back after a short break.
Sounds good.
So welcome back. We're continuing our deep dive into this fungal world within us.
Yeah.
And in this next section of Self-Heal by Design,
Good.
Barbara Oneils kind of dives into this controversial topic of fungi and cancer.
Yeah.
And I'd love to get your thoughts on that connection.
Well, it's a complex topic,
Mm-hmm.
but Oneils does present some compelling arguments. She highlights the work of Dr. Simoncini, who believes that Candida,
Okay.
which is a type of yeast,
Mm-hmm.
plays a pretty significant role in cancer development.
I've heard about Dr. Simoncini and his approach to using sodium bicarbonate
Right.
to treat cancer. Can you kind of elaborate on his theory?
Sure. Dr. Simoncini argues that cancer cells thrive in an acidic environment,
Mm-hmm.
and sodium bicarbonate creates an alkaline shock that disrupts that fungal growth.
Okay.
So he believes that by alkalizing the body, we can potentially inhibit the growth of Candida
Right.
and consequently cancer cells.
That's a pretty radical concept.
It is.
What does conventional medicine say about this approach?
It's definitely controversial.
Okay.
And a lot of Dr. Simoncini's work has been met with skepticism
Uh-huh.
within the medical community,
Right.
but Oneils doesn't stop there.
Okay.
She brings in research from the China study.
Oh, yeah, the China study. I remember
Mhm.
reading about that and Dr. Campbell's groundbreaking research.
Yeah.
Didn't he uncover a link between animal protein?
And cancer risk.
He did.
Pretty fascinating stuff.
Yeah, and what's interesting is that this link was observed even when carcinogens like aflatoxin,
Mhm.
which is a mycotoxin, produced by certain molds were present.
So you're saying that animal protein somehow makes the body
Right.
more favorable for cancer development?
Well, that's what the research suggests.
Okay.
Oneils points out that low-protein diets,
Mhm.
especially those rich in plant protein, appear to hinder tumor growth.
Interesting.
And that could be because they reduce aflatoxin absorption
Yeah.
or they slow down cell multiplication.
So it's almost like plant protein is like a shield
Yeah, you could think of it that way.
against these harmful effects of certain fungi.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a good analogy. But I'm curious, how does this connect to the idea of an acidic environment
Right.
that we were talking about earlier?
That's where Dr. Warburg comes in.
Okay.
He won the Nobel Prize for his research on
Mhm.
anaerobic respiration in cancer cells.
Yeah.
And he discovered that cancer cells actually produce energy through fermentation,
Okay.
which is a process that generates lactic acid,
Yeah.
creating this acidic environment.
And we know that Oneils is really emphasizing
Right.
an alkaline environment being detrimental to fungal growth.
Yeah.
So is she suggesting that there's a link between an acidic environment,
Right.
fungal growth, and cancer development?
That's the connection she's making.
Wow.
She believes that by creating a more alkaline environment in our bodies,
Okay.
we might be able to inhibit the growth of both fungi and cancer cells.
That's pretty fascinating.
Yeah,
It's a bold theory,
it is.
for sure.
Yeah.
And it makes me think about this whole nature versus nurture debate.
Right.
How much of our health is determined by our genes
Hmm.
and how much is influenced by our lifestyle and our environment.
That's the age-old question.
It is a big question.
Yeah, and Oneils delves into this topic too.
Okay.
She explores the central dogma of biology, which basically puts DNA as the ultimate ruler of our health.
Right.
But she presents this kind of counter-narrative, suggesting that our environment
Okay.
and lifestyle choices play a much bigger role than we previously thought.
So we're not just slaves to our genes.
Not necessarily.
We have some say in the matter.
We do. I know.
Yes.
And in fact, some scientists now estimate that only about 2% of diseases
Wow.
are solely due to genetics.
That's amazing.
Yeah, the rest are influenced by things like our diet,
Right.
our lifestyle, our environment.
That's a really hopeful perspective.
Yeah.
It means that we have more agency
Right.
than we realize
At
in our
least
health outcomes.
That's the message.
It's empowering,
It is.
for sure.
Yeah. Oneils cites this really fascinating research on prenatal influences,
Okay.
showing how a mother's environment during pregnancy
Yeah.
can actually impact gene expression
Wow.
in the developing fetus.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it really highlights just this interconnectedness
Yeah.
between our environment and our biology.
So even before we're born,
Right.
our environment is shaping our health.
That's right.
That's really something to think about.
It is. And O'Neill sums it up beautifully
Okay.
with this phrase, genetics loads the gun,
Okay.
but lifestyle pulls the trigger.
I love that.
Yeah,
What a great analogy.
it is. It's very powerful.
It's a reminder that we're not just passive recipients of health or disease.
Exactly.
We really have an active role to
Yeah.
play in this whole thing.
Right.
So speaking of taking an active role,
Okay.
what about DNA damage and repair?
Right.
We know that our DNA can be damaged by things like environmental toxins or
Mhm.
lifestyle choices,
Mhm.
but what about the repair process?
O'Neill addresses that too.
Okay.
She highlights these essential components of DNA repair,
Mm-hmm.
which are polysaccharides, amino acids, and minerals.
Mm-hmm.
And these nutrients basically provide the building blocks our bodies need to repair and maintain our genetic code.
So where can we find these DNA repairing superheroes?
Well, polysaccharides come from complex carbohydrates,
Okay.
like whole grains and vegetables.
Mm-hmm.
Amino acids are abundant in legumes, nuts, and seeds.
Right.
And then for minerals, vegetables,
Okay.
especially dark leafy greens, are a really good source.
So it sounds like a balanced whole foods diet
Yeah.
is really key for preventing DNA damage
Right.
and supporting its repair.
Absolutely. And when it comes to minerals,
Yeah.
O'Neill really emphasizes their critical role
Okay.
in DNA stability and function.
Mm-hmm.
And she even advocates for organic food whenever possible
Right.
because it tends to be richer in minerals.
That makes sense. The quality of our food really impacts the quality of our cells and
yeah.
ultimately our overall health.
And that's the idea.
But speaking of high quality food,
Okay.
O'Neill introduces this concept of superfoods,
Yeah.
those foods with exceptional healing properties.
Mm-hmm. Due to their high mineral and vitamin content.
What are some of those?
Well, she highlights aloe vera and comfrey as examples.
Okay.
They both have surprisingly rich mineral profiles.
Yeah.
They even contain elements like iridium and rhodium.
Iridium and rhodium.
Yeah.
I've never even heard of those.
Well, they're not nutrients we typically think about,
Right.
but some research suggests that they might play a role in DNA repair.
Interesting.
So she sees superfoods like aloe vera and comfrey
Mm-hmm.
as nature's powerful remedies.
Yeah.
But she also reminds us that emotional well-being
Right.
is just as important as nutritional health.
That makes sense. We all know how much our mental and emotional states can impact our physical well-being.
Exactly.
But how does she connect emotional well-being to
right.
this concept of self-healing?
Well, she links positive emotions like love,
Mm-hmm.
joy, peace,
Yeah.
to a healing effect at the cellular level.
Wow.
You know, she believes that our emotions have this vibrational frequency
Okay.
that can actually impact our very cells.
That's a beautiful way to think about it.
Yeah.
It really highlights that interconnectedness of our minds and bodies. It's
Mhm.
not just about what we eat,
Right.
but also how we think and feel.
Exactly.
It's about creating a positive internal environment in
Yeah.
every sense of the word.
That's a great way to sum it up.
So it's a holistic approach to health.
Yeah.
This is all so inspiring. But I'm
Yeah.
curious, does O'Neill offer any specific dietary recommendations?
She does.
Okay.
For people who want to kind of put these principles into practice, she provides a framework for fueling our bodies for optimal health.
Mm.
And she emphasizes whole unprocessed foods,
Okay.
prioritizing fiber protein and healthy fats,
Uh-huh.
adding carbohydrates in moderation.
Okay.
And of course, she still advocates for organic options whenever possible.
So a balanced, sustainable approach to eating?
That's the goal.
Okay.
But she also delves into some of the nuances
Yeah.
of modern food and how they impact our health.
Okay.
So, for example, she discusses gluten sensitivity.
Yeah, gluten sensitivity is definitely
No.
something we hear a lot about these days.
It is.
So what are her thoughts on that?
Well, she attributes the rise in gluten sensitivity to several factors.
Okay.
The overuse of gluten in Western diets,
Mm-hmm.
the introduction of hybridized wheat,
Right.
which has this more complex gluten structure,
Okay.
the early introduction of grains to babies
Mm-hmm.
before they can properly digest them,
Right.
and mineral deficiencies in the soil
Okay.
due to conventional farming practices.
It's a reminder that our food system plays such a big role in our health.
It does.
We're not just these disconnected individuals
Right.
making isolated food choices.
That's right. It's a bigger picture.
For sure.
Now, circling back to Oneils focus on fungi.
Okay.
She offers this three-pronged approach
Right.
to addressing candida and other fungal issues.
I'm ready. What's the strategy for conquering these fungal
All right,
foes?
so first we starve the fungus
Okay.
by eliminating or reducing sugar, yeast, moldy foods,
Okay.
certain grains, conventional meat and dairy.
Right.
All of these foods can fuel fungal growth.
So step one, cut off the fuel supply.
Exactly.
What about step two?
Step 2 is to kill it.
Okay. How do we do that?
Well, O'Neill suggests using antifungal herbs like garlic,
Okay.
oregano, olive leaf extract.
Mhm.
She also recommends incorporating coconut oil into the diet,
Right.
which has natural antifungal properties.
So starve it and kill it.
Exactly.
Sounds like a solid plan. So far. What about step three?
Step 3 is to restore balance in the gut.
Okay.
So that involves replenishing the good bacteria
Mhm.
through probiotic supplements
Right.
and fermented foods like sauerkraut and kimchi.
Okay.
These beneficial bacteria can help crowd out the harmful fungi
Yeah.
and create a healthier gut environment.
That's great. So it's a comprehensive strategy
Yeah.
that addresses the problem from multiple angles.
That's the idea.
I like that.
And to further support this process, O'Neill emphasizes the importance of addressing environmental factors like mold in the home, reducing exposure to chemicals and heavy metals.
So it's really a holistic approach
It is.
that recognizes the interconnectedness of our internal and external environments.
Right. You know, our bodies are constantly interacting with the world around us, and we need to create an environment
Yeah.
that supports our health both inside and out.
You said it perfectly.
Yeah. And to really drive home the point about creating an unfavorable environment for fungi,
Okay.
O'Neill dedicates a whole chapter
Okay.
to the alkaline advantage.
We touched on this concept of an alkaline environment earlier.
Right.
Can you remind us why pH balance is so important for health?
Sure. So the pH scale measures acidity and alkalinity. A pH of 7 is neutral.
Okay.
Anything below that is acidic,
Right.
and anything above is alkaline.
Okay.
O'Neill reminds us that fungi thrive in an acidic environment,
Yeah.
whereas an alkaline environment hinders their growth.
Yeah.
Now, our blood pH is tightly regulated by the lungs and kidneys,
All right.
but the pH of our cells
Right.
can fluctuate
Interesting.
depending on our diet and lifestyle choices.
So even if our blood pH is balanced,
Right.
our cells could still be overly acidic.
That's right. And that's where our choices come in.
Okay.
O'Neill is a big proponent of green vegetables and grasses,
Okay.
which she calls potent alkalizers and blood cleansers.
I can get behind that.
Yeah.
A big green smoothie sounds pretty good right now.
I know, me too.
So we're not only alkalizing our bodies by
Right.
eating greens, but we're also supporting our blood health.
Absolutely. She also highlights the benefits of chlorophyll, which is the pigment that gives plants their green color.
Right.
Did you know that the structure of the chlorophyll molecule
Okay.
is almost identical to our own blood molecules?
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's pretty fascinating.
That's amazing.
And because of that similarity, chlorophyll can actually help build hemoglobin in our blood. So it's almost like we're directly absorbing the life force of plants.
That's incredible.
It is.
What other recommendations does she offer for increasing alkalinity?
Well, in addition to green juices and salads, she also suggests powdered green supplements
Okay.
for like a concentrated dose of alkalizing nutrients.
All right.
But it's not just about what we eat. And Neil highlights several key lifestyle habits
Okay.
that can influence our internal environment as well.
I'm ready to hear them.
All right, so one of the most important is getting enough oxygen. Oxygen has this alkalizing effect on the body,
Okay.
and she suggests practical ways to increase our oxygen intake, like deep breathing exercises, maintaining good posture,
Okay.
engaging in regular exercise, and spending time in fresh air.
So creating a lifestyle that supports optimal oxygen flow.
Exactly.
I like that.
Yeah.
What about sunshine?
Okay.
I know it's essential for vitamin D production,
It is.
but does it have a role in alkalinity as well?
It does.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Well, sunshine not only helps our bodies produce vitamin D, which is crucial for calcium absorption,
right.
and plays a role in inhibiting cancer cell growth,
Wow.
but it also acts as a natural antifungal agent.
A natural antifungal agent.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So sunshine is this multi-purpose health tonic.
It really is. What about rest?
Rest is essential for cell regeneration and hormone production.
Right.
During sleep, our cells regenerate at a faster rate,
Okay.
And our pineal gland produces hormones like melatonin,
Right.
which regulates our sleep-wake cycles
Yeah.
and also has antioxidant properties.
So sleep is not just about recharging our batteries,
Right.
but it's also allowing our bodies
Yeah.
to do this essential repair or
Yeah.
maintenance.
Exactly.
I like that.
Yeah, she even reminds us to give our stomachs proper rest
Okay.
between meals.
Yeah.
Eating between meals or too close to bedtime
Right.
can disrupt our natural digestive processes.
Makes sense. So give the stomach a break. Let's
What
examine.
about exercise?
All right. Well, exercise has multiple benefits
Okay.
in this context.
Mm-hmm.
It has an alkalizing effect on the body.
Okay.
It activates the release of human growth hormone,
Uh-huh.
which helps burn fat and build muscle,
Right.
and it improves circulation.
So exercise really gets the whole system moving and grooving.
Exactly.
I like that.
Yeah.
But speaking of flow,
Okay.
we can't forget about water.
Right.
How much water does she recommend we drink daily?
She recommends aiming for 2-3 liters of pure water daily,
Okay.
consumed primarily between meals.
Okay.
This helps maintain hydration,
Mm-hmm.
support alkalinity,
Okay.
and it aids in detoxification.
All right. Challenge accepted. I will try to
Yeah.
up my water game.
Good.
What about salt?
Okay.
Does she have any recommendations for the types of salt we should be using?
She specifically recommends unrefined sea salts like Celtic or Himalayan salt.
Okay.
They contain a wider spectrum of minerals,
Yeah.
including magnesium, which helps balance sodium levels
Okay.
and supports electrolyte balance.
So very different from that refined table salt.
Right. She contrasts these beneficial salts
Okay.
with the refined table salt, which she believes can have a negative impact on our health.
I always wondered about the difference
Yeah.
between those various types of salt.
Mm-hmm.
It's good to know there are healthier options out there,
There are.
but we can't talk about a healthy internal environment
Right.
without addressing mental well-being.
You're right.
How does she connect the two?
Well, she links positive emotions
Okay.
like laughter, love, joy, and faith
Mm-hmm.
to a healing effect on the body,
Wow.
associating them with an alkaline state.
Really?
Yeah. And conversely, she links negative emotions
Yeah.
like fear, grief, and resentment
Mm-hmm.
with an acidic state.
So our thoughts and emotions
Right.
have a direct impact
Is that you?
on our biochemistry.
Yeah, it's pretty powerful.
It really is.
Yeah. And she even touches on the concept of neuroplasticity, which is the brain's ability to rewire itself,
Yeah.
suggesting that we can actually train our minds for greater positivity and resilience.
Wow.
We're not stuck with the thought patterns
Yeah.
and emotional habits we've developed over time.
Right.
We can change our brains for the better.
I like that a lot.
Yeah. It's pretty powerful.
This is so much to process,
Yeah.
but in a good way.
Yeah.
It's like she's giving us a roadmap
Yeah.
for creating a thriving internal ecosystem.
That's a great way to put it.
But there's one more powerful tool that she introduces,
Okay.
hydrochloric acid.
Ah, yes. Hydrochloric acid.
No, it might seem counterintuitive.
Right.
But hydrochloric acid, or HCl, is a crucial digestive enzyme
Mm-hmm.
and a potent fungicide.
It is.
But I thought HCl was the stuff that causes heartburn.
That's a common misconception.
Okay.
O'Neill explains that heartburn is actually often caused by low HCl levels,
Really?
not high levels.
Mind blown.
Yeah.
I always thought heartburn meant I had too much acid. Not too little.
It's a surprisingly common misconception.
It is.
When there's not enough HCl, food doesn't get properly digested,
Okay.
and it starts to ferment in the stomach, creating that burning sensation.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and this lack of HCl can lead to digestive problems
Mm-hmm.
and nutrient deficiencies.
So how do we ensure that we're producing enough HCl?
Well, she emphasizes the crucial role of hydration,
Okay.
specifically recommending adequate water intake the day before a meal.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it gives our livers,
Interesting.
which produce the HCl, enough time to prepare.
So it's not just about drinking water with our meals.
Right.
It's about being hydrated throughout the day
Exactly.
to really support that optimal digestion.
That's the idea.
And she also highlights HCl's fungicidal properties.
Yeah, when HCl levels are optimal,
Okay.
some of it gets absorbed into the bloodstream,
Uh-huh.
where it can help destroy these bloodborne fungi.
So it's like a double whammy, helping us digest our food and fight off fungi at the same time.
That's right.
I like that. Are there any other tips
Yeah.
for boosting HCl production?
She recommends avoiding eating between meals
Okay.
to allow the stomach proper rest,
Right.
consuming bitter herbs
Okay.
like dandelion and gentian, which stimulate HCl release,
Mm-hmm.
creating a relaxed and cheerful atmosphere during mealtimes
I like that.
to reduce stress,
Right.
drinking warm water before meals
Okay.
to increase blood flow in the stomach,
Makes sense.
and considering supplementing with betaine hydrochloride if needed.
So it's addressing both lifestyle and dietary factors, and
Yeah.
it sounds like we've come full circle back to the importance of that internal
You
environment.
got it.
O'Neill emphasizes that creating a healthy internal environment is crucial for supporting our body's natural healing abilities.
Exactly.
And there's one organ that plays a particularly important role in all of this,
Yeah.
the liver.
The liver.
We often hear about the liver in the context of detoxification.
Right.
But what other roles does it play
Oh.
in maintaining our health?
Well, O'Neill describes the liver as the body's project manager
Okay.
and master chemist.
I like that.
Yeah. Highlighting its critical role
Uh-huh.
in maintaining overall well-being
Right.
and fighting disease.
Okay.
It's involved in everything
Yeah.
from bile production for fat digestion to
Mhm.
blood clotting factor synthesis,
Right.
nutrient storage hormone regulation, and of course, detoxification.
Wow. Sounds like the liver's running a pretty tight ship.
It is.
And it has this amazing ability to
Yeah.
regenerate, right?
It does. It's the only organ in the body that
Really?
can regenerate itself,
That's incredible.
especially with proper nutritional support.
So to fully appreciate the liver's power,
Yeah,
we need to understand its many functions
Right.
and how we can support them.
absolutely.
So break down the liver's job description for us.
Okay.
What exactly does it do?
Well, as we mentioned, it produces bile salts, which are stored in the gallbladder
Okay.
and released into the small intestine to help
Mhm.
us digest fats.
So it plays a key role in fat metabolism.
It does.
What about those blood clotting factors
Yeah.
you mentioned?
Yes, the liver produces proteins that are essential for blood clotting.
Okay.
It also stores glycogen,
Right.
which is our body's quick-release form of energy,
Mm-hmm.
essential minerals like copper and iron,
Okay.
and vitamins A, D, E, and K.
Wow. So it's like the body's warehouse
Yeah, you could say that.
and manufacturing plant
Right.
all rolled into one.
That's a good way to put it.
But perhaps its most well-known function
Oh, yeah,
is
yeah.
detoxification.
Right.
How does that process actually work?
Well, the liver detoxifies harmful substances
Mm-hmm.
through this complex three-phase process.
Okay.
Phase 1 involves breaking down fat-soluble toxins into metabolites.
Okay.
Phase 2 involves converting those metabolites into a water-soluble form
Right.
so they can be excreted. And Phase 3 involves transporting those waste products out of the body.
That sounds pretty intricate.
It's quite the process.
What does the liver need
Yeah.
to successfully complete these detoxification tasks?
Well, in Phase 1,
Okay.
the liver relies heavily on antioxidants
Mm-hmm.
to protect against free radical damage.
Okay.
That's why O'Neill emphasizes consuming plenty of antioxidant-rich foods,
Right.
like fruits, vegetables, and green tea.
So antioxidants are like little shields,
Yeah, you could think of it that way.
protecting our cells from damage.
Exactly.
What about phase 2?
Okay, Phase 2, the liver needs sulfur-bearing amino acids,
Uh-huh.
which are abundant in plant proteins like
Mhm.
legumes and nuts.
Okay.
These amino acids help convert the toxins
Mhm.
into a form that can be easily eliminated.
And finally, phase 3, that elimination stage.
Right. Well, omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids
Okay.
are crucial
Mm-hmm.
for cell membrane integrity,
Right.
allowing those toxins to be efficiently transported out of the body. So O'Neill recommends incorporating flaxseed, chia seeds, and walnuts into the diet.
To get those healthy fats.
Exactly.
Wow. It's amazing how all these different dietary components work
Yeah.
together to support the liver
They do.
in its detoxification efforts.
A beautiful symphony
Yeah.
of nutrients.
But is there anything else we can do to
Yeah.
give our livers a little extra love?
Well, O'Neill introduces this concept of a liver cleanse
Okay.
as a way to kind of kickstart liver function
Mm-hmm.
and support detoxification.
I've heard about liver cleanses,
Yeah.
but I've always been a little hesitant to try one.
Yeah.
What exactly does her protocol involve?
Well, her protocol is pretty specific.
Okay.
It involves consuming apple juice for several days
Okay.
to soften gallstones,
Mm-hmm.
followed by a combination of Epsom salts and olive oil to flush them out.
Okay.
She also recommends supporting bowel elimination with colon tea
Right.
and applying a castor oil compress to the liver area to enhance detoxification.
Sounds pretty intense.
It can be, but it can also be very effective.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look into that.
Yeah.
It's clear that the liver is such a vital player in
Right.
maintaining our health.
Absolutely.
And it's amazing how much we can do to support its function
Right.
through diet and lifestyle choices.
That's the takeaway.
It is, but what other insights does she offer as
Good.
this final part of her book?
That's where we'll delve into some of the more practical
Okay.
and even philosophical aspects
Okay.
of creating a greet.
And we are back for the final part of our deep dive into Barbara Oneils' Self-Heal by Design.
It's been quite a journey, you know,
It has.
exploring this world of fungi and the human body.
Right, we've learned so much.
Yeah.
And now in this last section, we kind of get into some of the more practical advice
She gets really practical.
for creating a thriving internal environment.
Right.
I'm all about the practical tips. So what are some of the things she suggests we focus on?
Well, she circles back to diet, but she goes beyond just lifting foods to eat or avoid.
Okay.
She encourages us to view food as information,
Interesting.
as signals that our bodies interpret
Okay.
and respond to.
That's a really interesting way to think about food.
Yeah.
It's not just calories or macronutrients, but the messages we're sending
Yeah.
to ourselves with every bite.
That's a great way to put it.
And she reminds us that our bodies have evolved to thrive on whole, unprocessed foods
Right.
that are as close to nature as possible.
Exactly.
These foods provide the nutrients and the information that our cells need
Right.
to function optimally.
That's right. It's like we're speaking our cells' language.
I like that.
Yeah.
When we eat real whole foods.
Exactly.
And this leads to her emphasis on chewing our food thoroughly.
Yeah.
I'll admit I'm guilty sometimes of inhaling my food,
Yeah, we've all been there.
especially when I'm busy
Right.
or on the go.
Mm-hmm.
But why is chewing so important?
Well, chewing is really the first step in the digestive process.
Okay.
It breaks down the food into smaller particles,
Right.
making it easier for our stomachs to do their job.
So we're kind of pre-digesting our food before it even reaches our stomachs.
That's right. And this thorough chewing also sets the stage for optimal nutrient absorption,
Okay.
and it reduces the burden on our digestive systems.
Noted. I will try to be more mindful about slowing down and
It
savoring
makes a big difference.
each bite.
Right.
What other wisdom does O'Neill offer?
Well, she encourages us to pay attention to our food combining habits.
Food combining. I've
Yeah.
heard that term, but never really understood the concept.
Right. Well, it's all about understanding how different foods
Okay.
digest at different rates.
Right.
So, for example, proteins and starches
Yeah.
require different enzymes and digestive processes.
So if we eat them together,
Yeah.
we're creating a bit of digestive chaos.
You could say that.
Okay.
So if you're experiencing digestive issues,
Yeah.
O'Neill suggests separating proteins and starches as much as possible.
So no more steak and potatoes on the same plate.
Not necessarily.
Okay.
It's more about just being mindful of how we combine foods
Okay.
and noticing how our bodies respond.
It's about tuning into our own individual needs
Right.
and finding what works best for us.
That's the idea.
Does our digestive capacity fluctuate throughout the day?
It does.
Okay.
O'Neill suggests making our largest meal at lunchtime
Okay.
when our digestive fire is strongest.
Makes sense. I always feel more sluggish after a heavy dinner.
Yeah, a lot of people do.
And she recommends keeping our evening meals lighter, easier to digest,
Mhm.
to support our body's natural rhythms.
It's like we're syncing our eating habits with our body's natural cycles.
Right. I like that a lot. But aside from what and how we eat,
Yeah,
O'Neill also talks about the importance of cleansing.
she does.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, she emphasizes the importance of regular bowel cleansing
Okay.
to eliminate waste and toxins efficiently.
Mhm.
She suggests incorporating fiber-rich foods into our diets,
Right.
drinking plenty of water,
Yeah.
and even considering colon hydrotherapy or enemas if needed.
So it's not just about what we're putting into our bodies. It's
Yeah.
also how we're effectively eliminating
Exactly.
what we no longer need.
That's a good way to put it.
Are there any other types of cleansing
Okay.
that she recommends?
She highlights the importance of skin cleansing.
Okay.
Our skin is our largest organ,
Mm-hmm.
and it plays a role in detoxification.
What are some ways that we can support our skin's cleansing abilities?
Well, she recommends dry brushing
Okay.
to stimulate lymphatic flow,
Mm-hmm.
sweating through exercise or saunas,
Right.
and even clay baths to draw out impurities.
It's like we're giving our bodies a full body detox,
Yeah.
inside and out.
That's the idea.
But what about mental and emotional cleansing? Does
Yeah.
she address that?
She does.
Okay.
She suggests practices like journaling,
Mm-hmm.
meditation, and spending time in nature to create space for stillness and reflection.
Right.
And this allows us to process and release
Okay.
what's no longer serving us mentally and
It's
emotionally.
like creating this mental and emotional sanctuary
Yeah,
where we can declutter and recharge.
that's beautiful.
I love that.
Yeah.
And she also highlights the importance of forgiveness,
Yeah.
both of ourselves and others.
Right.
Holding on to grudges and resentments can really weigh us down,
It can.
both mentally and physically.
It affects us on all levels.
It really does.
Yeah.
So forgiveness is definitely a powerful act
It
of
is.
self-care.
Yeah.
It's like freeing up energy
Yeah.
and space
Right.
for positivity and healing.
That's the goal.
It's a reminder that our internal environment is influenced by not just what we eat and drink,
Right.
but also by our thoughts, emotions,
Yeah.
and experiences.
That's right. It's a holistic picture.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into O'Neill's book,
Okay.
what would you say is like her most profound message?
Well, I think one of the most profound messages is the power of belief.
Okay.
She emphasizes that our beliefs about our bodies
Right.
and our ability to heal
Mm.
can profoundly influence
Really?
our health outcomes.
So if we believe we can heal, we're more likely to.
That's what she suggests.
Okay.
Our thoughts and beliefs can create a sort of self-fulfilling prophecy.
Wow.
If we believe we're sick and powerless, our bodies will often reflect that belief.
Right.
But if we cultivate a belief in our innate healing capacity,
Yeah.
we empower our bodies to do what they were designed to do,
Right.
which is to heal.
Wow, that's powerful.
It is.
It's a reminder that we're not just these passive recipients of health or disease.
Exactly.
We have an active role to play
We do.
in shaping our own well-being.
And this leads to her final message,
Okay.
which is perhaps the most important of all,
Mm-hmm.
the importance of taking responsibility for our own health.
Right. We're not just handing over our health to doctors or experts. We're empowered to make choices
We are.
that support our well-being.
Yeah, we have to become active participants
Right.
in our own healing journeys.
I love that it's a message of empowerment and hope.
It is.
It reminds us that we have more control
Right.
over our health than we might realize.
You said it perfectly.
Well, this deep dive has been a true revelation.
Yeah, it has.
I feel like I have a whole new understanding of how my body works
Oh.
and the power I have
Yes.
to create health from the inside out.
That's the goal.
So thank you for joining us on this incredible journey into this world of fungi and the human body.
It's been my pleasure.
We hope you gain some valuable insights and feel inspired to cultivate a thriving internal ecosystem
Right.
that supports your optimal health and well-being.
That's what you want.
So keep diving deep,
Yeah.
keep asking questions,
Exactly.
and keep embracing the power you have to create a life of vibrant health.
I love it.
Until next time.
See you then.